I'm Kaylee, and this is my bucket list TBR. These are the books that if I died and I had not read these books, I would just be so mad. I would come back as a ghost so that I could read them. Unfortunately, most of the books on this bucket list are books that have been sitting on my shelves for a while. These are books that, like, I already know that I love this author, and these books are important to me, and that's why I haven't picked them up yet, because I don't know, maybe I'm scared that I'll be disappointed, or I know that once I dive in, just everything else in life is going to fall away, and I will just be so focused on the book that real life will have like no place in my mind. And so I feel like I need to wait until I have some vacation days so that nothing else is on my plate and I can just focus on that book. You know what I'm saying? So there are various reasons for these different books being on my list for so long, but these are books that are super important to me, that I need to read this book. And yet there it sits for years and years, and I don't read it. So I'm making this TBR to hold myself accountable. Like, get these books read. Live your life like it's your last day on earth, right? I always end up picking up just little whatever meh sort of books because those don't mean as much to me. And I don't pick up the books that really mean a lot to me. Why is that? Some of these, I know that it's going to have a deep emotional impact on me. And I'm just like, I don't think I'm emotionally ready for this. I just don't think I can handle these emotions right now. So some of them, it's the emotions. Some of them, it's worried about being disappointed. Some of them, it's just, I don't have time to focus on this right now. But here's the list. Here we go. Oh, wait, I forgot. We got to do our Booktuber Shoutout. Let's do it. Okay, our Booktuber Shoutout for today. Today's Shoutout goes to the Velvet Library. Ooh, I love that name, the Velvet Library. I'll leave a link to their channel down in the description, so be sure to go over and subscribe to them. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel and follow me over on Goodreads and Instagram and Storygraph and Twitter and all the places. And please do give this video a thumbs up if, like me, you have books that are important to you, but you've never read them. The human brain is a weird thing. I don't know why we do this. Why do we do this as readers? We buy the book and it's so important to us and we know we will love it, and then we don't read it. Give this video a like if you also have had the same experience. Okay, so I have several different categories. I have just a basic bucket list with just random books on it. I have a classics bucket list, and I have a Booktube made me buy this book bucket list, where people on Booktube recommended it so much that I bought the book and then still haven't read it. And then I have one category for one book that is a book that has not even been published yet. And when we get to that one, oh boy, there's sparks are gonna fly, because then I'm gonna be mad and I might go on a rant. We'll just see what happens. These are in no particular order. These are just like randomly, this is the list. So just the random books, just, you know, not classics, just whatever. First of all, I have God in the Dock by C.S. Lewis. I do have that on my TBR to read it this year. I love C.S. Lewis, but I feel like, especially with his apologetics works like this, you just really have to be in the headspace to super focus, really have a lot of brain power to understand what he's saying. And then also you kind of have to have space in your life to apply what he is saying to your life and to your spiritual journey. So I feel like with these books, you really have to be in the right place in your life to read a C.S. Lewis apologetic work, but that is going to get read this year for sure. Then I have The Fall of Arthur by J.R.R. Tolkien. Again, this is another one where I feel like you have to be in the right place. You have to be in the right mood for this type of book. First of all, it's not happy Arthur and Guinevere and Lancelot in the prosperous days of Camelot. No, this is the fall of Arthur. So like, I already know I'm gonna cry, okay? This is one where I know it's gonna have an emotional punch, and oh, can I survive through this one? And it's Tolkien, so you know he just knows how to play on your heartstrings. The next one is another one that I know it's going to be very emotional. This is The Maze in the Heart of the Castle by Dorothy Gilman. This actually has a very interesting kind of background to this, Dorothy Gilman wrote this other mystery, and in that book, the main character is grieving over the murder of her parents. And she reads a book called The Maze in the Heart of the Castle, which helps her to work through her grief, and she grows as a person and she continues on with her story. Now, at the time that that book was written, there was no such book as The Maze in the Heart of the Castle. That was a made-up title that the author made up to be like a plot point for this character's internal grieving journey. Well, then so many people asked her, is The Maze in the Heart of the Castle a real book, that she decided to write the real book. So she actually went back retroactively and actually wrote the book that the character read in the other book. So of course, then I had to find it, and it's out of print, and it was very difficult to find, and I bought it years ago, but knowing that it's a book about grieving is just like, I don't know if I can handle this. My heart just can't take it. Because just reading about that character reading the book was already emotional, and then to read the actual book, I literally don't know if I can handle this. One of these days, when I'm in a very happy place in my life, then I'm gonna try to read it. The next one is the Young Wizard series. I think I've read up to book 5, I wanna say, maybe book 6. So I have about 5 or 6 books left in the series. I love this series. I love Diane Duane. Every single book has been 5 stars. It's so imaginative, and the magic and the world building. The thing is though, every book deals with very deep themes. The nature of identity, the nature of family love, what it means to sacrifice for your friends, just very, very deep emotional ideas. And she delves into and explores the philosophy, but man, they pack an emotional punch. And they also really make you think differently about things. So there's just so much going on mentally and emotionally with these books. And so I only read like 1 a year because I'm like, my heart needs time to process all of this before I can dive into another Young Wizards book. Okay, the next couple of ones are books from Marissa Meyer. And of course, I've read the Lunar Chronicles and super loved it. And I've read some other things by Marissa Meyer as well. She's one of my favorite authors. And I have bought the entire Renegades trilogy and have not read it. I bought every one of those books when they came out, when they were published. Went out and bought the beautiful new hardcovers. Never have read them. Same thing with the Gilded duology. I have both of the books. They're so pretty sitting on my shelves, and never have picked them up. Oh dear. With these, I feel like I know that I'm just going to dive into that world because her world building is just so imaginative. Her characters are so just like engrossing, you know? And so I know I'm gonna end up ignoring my real life. The laundry will not get done. The dishes will not get done. I will be teaching my students at work and I'll be thinking about the book instead of thinking about my student. Like I know I'm gonna be so distracted. And so I'm like waiting for the perfect time when it's vacation or it's the weekend or something where I know I'm not going to be distracted and I can just dive in and just surrender myself to it. Okay, the next one is another favorite author that I know I already love. It's Riordan. So of course I've already read the Percy Jackson series. I've already read Heroes of Olympus. I love these. They are hilarious. They are so fun. And I have not read the Trials of Apollo. I own all the books. I bought them as they were published. Never did read them. I own all of the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard series. I have not read them. And again, they look so pretty on my shelves, but I have not read them. With these, it's more like I know once I start the series, I'm just going to want to read the whole series because Rick Riordan is famous for those horrible cliffhangers that he loves to torture us with. And so again, I feel like I can't dive in until I have the big chunk of time to just like finish the whole series. The next one is kind of a spin-off addition to the Tiger's Curse series by Colleen Houck. So I read the first 4 books of the main series of Tiger's Curse, but then like years later, she came out with kind of like a spin-off or like a continuation of the story. And it's Tiger's Dream, and it is huge. It's like a massive honkin' book. The reasoning behind why I have not picked this one up yet is that I felt like the Tiger's Curse series just finished so satisfyingly. The ending was just so nicely wrapped up, and I felt like, great, that's a great ending. And I don't want that ruined. Like I almost kind of just don't want there to be more, because that ending was just like, yep, all those little pieces came together and everything is wrapped up so well and our characters are happy. It was the end, you know? And so I'm like, I don't want it to continue on, and then what if something gets ruined or changed or something? And I just, I don't know. I feel like I need to just trust the author. Can I trust this author that they won't ruin it? Well, we will see. Eventually I will pick up Tiger's Dream, and we will see. And I have another series by Colleen Houck, the Reawakened series. This one I believe is set in Egypt. And the reason I haven't picked up this one is, again, I just have too many series that I'm already in the middle of. And I feel like it would be silly to start the Reawakened series when I haven't even done the Tiger's Dream series completely yet. Okay, next are the ones that I know everybody really wants to hear about, the classics bucket list. So I have a couple of books by Sir Walter Scott. I want to read a lot of Sir Walter Scott, but two of the ones that I was like, I have to get these two read is Kenilworth and The Heart of Midlothian. So I own both of those books, and I just have never gotten around to them. They are kind of longer books, or at least Kenilworth is a longer book, I think. Heart of Midlothian isn't quite so long. I just love Sir Walter Scott's stories. They are adventurous, and you get all that great history in there. His characters are just so endearing, and there's just something about his writing that is just so energetic and emotional as well. His writing and his characters are very emotionally appealing. Just so many good things that I love about Sir Walter Scott, and I really need to read more from him. Another one on my classics bucket list is Anthony Trollope. I want to read the entire Palliser series. I've already read the whole series of the Barsetshire Chronicles and loved it so much. And I've heard that this one is also really good. I really love how Anthony Trollope takes these kind of boring everyday settings, but he makes it feel so immediate and important. And then some crazy adventure or some crazy thing will come into this boring setting and mix everything up. So his books always start out with like, everything is very calm and they're just living their everyday lives. And then it all hits the fan and it all goes crazy and the characters have to cope somehow. I do have another Anthony Trollope that I'm going to be reading this year. I'm going to be reading The Way We Live Now. So I guess that one's on my bucket list too, really. The Way We Live Now is such a popular Anthony Trollope. So I'm definitely going to be reading that one this year. So I'm getting some stuff checked off of my bucket list this year, or at least I plan to. I also want to read more of Wilkie Collins. I have a lot of Wilkie Collins. I think I've got 3 or 4 of his books on my TBR, like for sometime in the future, like who knows when. But one of the main ones that I really want to get read is The Law and the Lady. I've heard a lot about this one, that people really like it. The basic plot seems to be really good. Wilkie Collins can be a little bit hit or miss for me. Sometimes I super love his books, like The Woman in White and The Moonstone. But some others of his books are kind of meh, like Basil is sort of like, I don't know. But I'm hoping that The Law and the Lady will be a really good one. And then I also have a book by Fanny Burney. I've only ever read one book by Fanny Burney, and that was Cecilia. And so another one of her most famous books is Evelina. So I really want to read Evelina. I enjoyed Cecilia so much. It's a little bit dramatic and crazy and everything. So I'm hoping that Evelina will be more of the same. Then I have 3 books on my Booktube bucket list. These are books that I saw other booktubers talking about, and I bought the book and then I just never read it. So one of those books is Inda by Sherwood Smith. And I have had this, I think, for at least 5 years. Yeah, it's been a good long while. I saw so many booktubers talking about this years ago, and I bought the book and I was like, oh, I'm gonna read this, and yeah, this is gonna be great, and I'm gonna jump on this train while everybody's reading Inda. And never did. There it sits, alone and lonely. There it sits. Another one is 6 of Crows. I know, it's kind of too late now. Everybody has read Six of Crows and I have been left behind. I own the book. I have just never read it and I really need to. And of course, everyone everywhere is talking about Brandon Sanderson and I have never read a single book by Brandon Sanderson. I own a few of his books and one of the ones that I've been told is a good one to start with and the place that I think is a good place for me personally to start with is The Rithmatist because it's middle grade. And so I feel like this is a good, easy way to sort of ease my way into some Brandon Sanderson. And I own the book, and there it sits, and it was on my TBR last year, and I did not read it. I hear so many good things about that book, and just, I never did read it. And now we come to the final category, the books on my bucket list that has still not been published. There's only one book on this list, and it is The Doors of Stone by Patrick Rothfuss. If you know, then you know. I'm still so mad that this has not been published yet. So a very mean person many years ago said to me, "Oh, Kaylee, you should read this book. You like fantasy? You should read this." So I went out and I bought Name of the Wind thinking that it was a standalone, not realizing that it's part of a trilogy that has not been finished in the last 20 years. So I read Name of the Wind and I loved it because of course the main character is a musician. So of course I was all about that musician character. And then I read Wise Man's Fear and I loved it even more. And then I read the novella, what was it? The Slow Regard of Silent Things. I read the novella and here we sit and here we wait, waiting and waiting and waiting for The Doors of Stone to be published. My greatest fear is that Patrick Rothfuss will die and never finish Doors of Stone. I think the entire book community all over the world are a little bit angry with him. Of course, by now it's been going on for so long that when it does finally get published, it had better be good or we are then really gonna be mad. Ugh, I don't know. I just don't know. So that is my bucket list. I mean, I have many other books that I really need to read, many other books that I love, that are still on my TBR, other authors that are favorite authors, but these are the ones that kind of stand out right at the top. Like if I died and I had not read this book, then I would just be mad. But I'm sure there are libraries in heaven and there's probably better books in heaven. So if I died, I wouldn't really be that mad. I would just be like, who cares about them earthly books? I got heavenly books to read. So please leave me a comment down below and let me know what are some of the books that are on your bucket list TBR and why haven't you read them yet? Is it because you're worried about the emotional impact, because you just don't have the time to be able to focus on it? Or is it maybe just that you're like, I can't read this whole big series? Or what is your reasoning behind why you have still not picked up that bucket list book? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.